Hi everyone, thanks so much for being here. What I want to talk about today is what do sports offer women? As Ellen said, I've been a pro Ironman triathlete for 3 years now. I went to South Africa last year for the Ironman World Championships, and this year, I just found out 2 weeks ago, I'll be again participating in the Ironman 70.3 World Championships in France. Thank you. So why should we ask our young girls to be athletes? Why should we ask ourselves? I started swim team when I was 6, did a smattering of other sports throughout high school, ran, but I still consider myself pretty normal. I didn't start triathlon until my late 20s. I think a lot of us would be astounded at what we could do if we devoted 25 or 30 hours a week to it. There's a lot out there about the physical and the social benefits of sports for women. So what I wanted to talk about today is self-realization. To me, life is about connecting with our purpose, understanding why we're here on this earth, and triathlon is the medium that I'm working in to do that. Self-realization, I purposely don't say transformation because that implies that who we are right now is somehow not good enough. Self-realization is more about the way a sculptor works with marble, carving away the excess to reveal the true self within, the way that Michelangelo carved away marble to reveal David already within. What is an Ironman? It's a 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike ride, and then you run a marathon. I compete at this distance and at the half Ironman or 70.3 distance. The first thing that's hard about an Ironman is showing up at the start line, looking out on the open ocean, standing in the starting chute with the other pro women, adjusting my goggles for the zillionth time, hoping that the sun will come up so that we can start already, praying that the sun will never come up so that I can go back home and go to bed. And then the gun goes off and I come alive. The first part of the race is lost in adrenaline and salt water. As athletes, we recognize that self-realization doesn't happen by sitting on the bleachers. Arthur became king because he quested and he battled and he pulled a sword out of a stone. Luke Skywalker saved the world because he left home and he learned to fight with the Force. And where are the women in these stories? Waiting in a tower, right? So this is it. The first step to becoming your own hero is to call yourself to action, to show up. Second step to becoming your own hero is you're going to need help. And I don't mean helicopter parents or snowplow parents. I mean the kind of people who say, I cannot do this for you, but I am here with you. We get faster when we train with people who are faster than us. We stay connected with our purpose and committed to our goals when we surround ourselves with people who give us their unwavering support. Let me tell you about love. At St. George 70.3, I saw a man collapse 50 feet before the finish line. And 2 fellow competitors, strangers, people who didn't even know this man, the finish line is in their sights, and they turn around and they hoist this man up on their shoulders so he can cross the finish line as they carry him. That's love. It's when we are connected to others that we find our resilience, our fight. My yoga teacher says, your addiction is trying to kill you, but first it has to get you alone. Let me tell you about resilience. I used to coach for Girls on the Run. Shout out, they're over there. I used to coach for Girls on the Run, and I had a young girl on my team, 4th grader, who lived with her grandpa, who's been woken up in the middle of the night by the sound of gunshots and the screech of stolen cars. And she trained with her teammates for 4 months, and together they all finished their very first 5K in shoes that had been donated. That's resilience. And let me tell you about fight. In Chattanooga, I met a woman who was finishing her very first Ironman 70.3. She's a breast cancer survivor, and she is showing to her 2 young kids what it means to never give up, and that you're never too old to start new challenges. I've watched my own mother 15 hours into an Ironman battle nausea, fatigue, darkness, the wanting to give up, to put one foot in front of the other. And she was not alone out there. There were spectators on the side of the road, huddled in blankets, drinking beer or hot coffee, and they were there to witness and to cheer for my mother as she raced those final miles into the finish line before the midnight cutoff. Step 3. You're going to need all of this support because it is into the darkest shadows that you must go. To be your own hero, you have to seek out the most difficult trials that you can as often as you can. When things are going well, racing is all about staying present, moment by moment, pushing as hard as I can for each pedal stroke, because that is what the women around me are doing, and I want to come off the bike with them so I can beat them on the run. It's a battle against complacency. This is true if you're racing a 50-yard freestyle or running a 5K or running a marathon. Be present. But then for all of us, there becomes a distance over which we get out of pure racing and into the realm of, can I even finish this at all? For some of us, that distance is the 5K. And in these kinds of endurance races, there will come a moment, perhaps an escalating succession of moments where decisions have to be made. St. George is usually a hot desert race, but one year when I raced there, it rained. I was in nothing but a spandex racing kit, no gloves, no jacket. Later, my computer clocked 32 degrees, freezing. And I come around the bend, and all of a sudden I'm at the base of Snow Canyon. Snow Canyon is a grueling 7-mile climb. You have a dark black sky overhead. There's steep red cliff faces on either side. I'm shaking so hard that my bike is shaking under me too. I can't even move my fingers enough to pull out a water bottle, but I could pedal. And that's what I did. I channeled my inner Dory and I just kept pedaling. And I think that's true in life as well. Sometimes to be your best self, you just have to keep moving forward. I didn't have to be the fastest on that day. I just had to move forward. When my first marriage ends in failure, I can saw up my wedding dress, take out the garbage, remind myself I'm worthy of love, and move forward. Battling our own shadows is so important. When we tell or do everything for our kids, we raise girls who are anxious to please, who want the checklist, who want the rubric, but they aren't girls who are able to improv, to rebound from failure, to rebound from grief, to know that when plan A fails, there's always a plan B. The Ironman World Championships take place in Kona, Hawaii every year. It's my dream to one day be one of the 35 professional women from around the world who are invited to compete there. But I have raced the half Ironman there as an age group athlete. It was hot, humid, sun beating down. I come off the bike and I'm clipping along at a good 7-mile, pace. And all of a sudden I just get hit by this wave of nausea. There's no shade. I'm being killed by the humidity. And I slow down and then I start walking. And if there had been a golf cart right there, I promise you I would have gotten in it and I would have taken a ride back to the finish line and I would have been done. But there was no golf cart. And instead, I see this woman kind of come running by. She's someone I'd passed a couple miles earlier, and she said something encouraging to me. And I looked up, and I looked at how she was running, and I was like, well, that's not that fast. I could do that. And then this other voice pierced into my brain right at that moment and said, but you have to go right now. And this woman, Michelle, someone who I'd never met before, she paced me all the way to the finish line. Even at mile 11, when I was throwing up, she was still rooting for me. And the funniest thing about that race is, even though there was that moment where I wanted to quit, I ended up winning. And so I think that in life, most of what we do is routine and most of what we do is mundane. But then we have these moments where we give one presentation at work, where we show up for a loved one time, and that changes everything. One of the most challenging shadows that we battle as women is self-esteem and body image. A woman should be toned, but not muscular. Eat well, but not the whole bowl. Glow, but not sweat. Go to the gym, but not by taking time away from her family. This one's my favorite. Be confident, but not competitive or aggressive. Competing in sports helps us shift our mindset away from what does my body look like and over to what does my body do. There was a time when I used to wake up every morning and look in the mirror and pinch my thighs and think, ugh. But now when I look at my shoulders, I think, oh, that's because I increased my swim volume. When I look at my legs, I think, oh, that's from biking, that's from running. I am recontouring what I look like because of what I can do. Step 4 of heroic self-realization. Forge meaning. This is perhaps the most important part of being an athlete. I could have looked at walking in Kona as a failure, but instead I saw it as evidence of my own well of courage and of this beautiful triathlon community that I get to be a part of. There are 3,000 people who show up to the start line of an Ironman. Most of us will never get a trophy. Most of us will never be on a podium. And so we have to be really clear about why we're doing what we're doing. We can never see what we accomplish as a failure. Plenty of near wins, but no failures. I had a vision last fall where I was racing in Kona. I could see myself in my pink racing kit, blue turquoise ocean in the background. I was in the black lava fields. It was so clear. I don't know if this was a premonition. I hope it was. But what I do know is that it was the universe putting this in front of me and saying, you want this. Don't be afraid to admit that this is what you want. I've had races where I didn't get the outcome that I wanted. I make so many sacrifices so that I can train like I do. There are parts of my marriage that triathlon makes really hard. But to me, it's all worth it because every day I see that vision and I know exactly where I'm going. So ladies, girls, let me ask you this. Are you afraid to pursue your dreams because you are afraid of what others might think? Because your dreams might inconvenience someone else? Because you'll be embarrassed if you admit out loud what's on your heart? Hero step 5, return home different. When I was running to the finish line of my very first Ironman, I remember coming through town in the final mile and saying out loud, yes, like a crazy person, I am strong, I am patient, and I am powerful. When we succeed in sports, we don't just tick a box. We don't just get a finisher medal. We develop knowledge and confidence in ourselves that we carry out into the world like a radiant light. So what I want to close with is this. Ensuring women have equal opportunity to participate in sports is not just about our right to physical health. It is about our right to be unified with ourselves and with our communities, to be free and to be happy. I continue to puzzle about why so few women do Ironman. When I did Ironman Canada, there were 5 times as many men who finished as women. Some of this is Title IX. There are still older cohorts of women racing who grew up without sports the way that girls have them now. But even in the 30-34 age group, there were twice as many men who finished as women. Why? I think that part of this is that girls are raised to think that we are fragile and to put others before ourselves and to not be sweaty and to not pee ourselves while we're on a bike ride. And a second part of it is that women are still being held back. Ladies, for every 1.7 hours you spend on housework, your married husband spends only 1. Women are still being paid less in the workforce. We are more likely to drop out of our careers or to work part-time in order to care for a family member. What this means is that men tend to have more authority over household finances than women. And this puts women in the position of having to ask to spend money on ourselves. And triathlon is a really expensive sport. These facts are codified in our language. Have you ever heard a man say, "Oh, I just need some me time"? Have you ever heard someone say about a man, "I just don't know how he does it all," right? Grown women at an Ironman and in the workplace are still being called girls. And the next time that I hear someone say, "He got chicked," when referring to being passed by a woman, I will scream. We don't need a special verb for men when got passed works just fine. Women deserve to have space and resources for ourselves. It's fine to do this for your team. It's fine to do this for cancer, but it's also got to be, I'm doing this for me. And men need to be part of the solution by stepping up around the home, by supporting equal pay and flex time in the workplace, and by more generously weighting the resources that a woman wants for her own damn self. Ladies, I'm telling you, you are stronger, you can achieve more than you can imagine. So get out of your own way. Shut up the voices that tell you that you're not good enough. Stop feeling guilty for wanting what you want. Find the thing that makes you passionate, that makes you come alive, and pursue that with everything that you have. This will take small acts every day, setting the alarm 1 hour early, showing up on your yoga mat, putting your kid on a bicycle so that you can get your run in. Consistency, persistence. We practice this in sports so that we can do this in life. If you want to build a new identity for yourself, you recognize that this takes everyday practice. If you want to be kind, then every time you drive, you have to let the person in front of you merge. You have to read your kids bedtime stories every night. You have to eat your vegetables all most of the time. And in addition to this everyday consistency, it will take 10-second bursts of extravagant courage. It's through this combination of daily consistency and sudden heroism that we change ourselves, and it's how we change the world. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jenna and Kyra Wiens. Enjoy the rest of the Women's Wellness Expo. Thanks so much.